Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows what that music means. It's time for the At Home Show. Hey, we're coming to you live here from the Green Room Studios at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
For whatever reason, my monitor is...
Your monitoring is not monitoring?
It would come on the air and then it immediately goes off. So I don't know if it's that connection, Tyler, or if it's the setting on the computer. I'm not sure.
Could be. Well,
I've got the screen back up now. Maybe it'll work here. Anyway, I'm David Bates and you're Josh Cary.
Yes, I am.
And we're really glad to see everybody in today, and we're glad to
be here.
Yeah, we are glad to be here, and it is.
There's no excuses today.
No, it's a very, very nice, very wonderful day, and we're going to get into the weather because
beautiful.
The weather is a part of what we're all about today. And of course, here we are at the Bates Nursery Station, live from the Green Room. It's a very mild 62 degrees. Beginning the day today, and we'll have a chance of some showers as we get into the afternoon. Not very much. You know, we did have our first taste of rainfall in about 6 weeks earlier this week, where we got here at the nursery, we got 55 or 59 hundredths of an inch of rain in total. About 55 hundredths of it fell in about
13 seconds.
Yeah, 15 minutes. It was really fast. But we do have a chance for some more this afternoon, light showers, and perhaps a bit more tomorrow afternoon. High of 69, and we've got sunshine much of the rest of the way, but you'll notice another thing. Look at these temperatures, Josh. 61 on Monday, 29 for the low, 52 on Tuesday, again 29 for the low, 31 on Wednesday. So we've got freezing temperatures 3 successive nights here in the middle of October, which is a little early, but not way outside the norm. 64, 36 on Thursday. We warm back up going into next weekend. 70, 42 Friday, 74, 49 Saturday, if any of that means anything. And again, currently 62 degrees. Live from the Green Room here at Bates Nursery.
Do you have the forecast for certain spot a little east of here?
Well, I could Knoxville.
Like 15:30 hour. Do you have?
I don't know if I can. I did not come prepared to give that, but I don't see anything that would make it be much different than it is here. What we can do is we can look at the big board radar here, you see there's a few showers out in Arkansas, and that's really about it. So don't look for the precipitation to be a factor in the
except for the tears perhaps of a certain team from the south.
Well, maybe there'll be crimson tears today, but
hopefully.
well, that more will be revealed on that. As my son Jason was lamenting the fact that the Peyton Manning was going to be on game day today, and that never works out good. Doesn't work out good for the Volunteers when we have Peyton prognosticating the outcome of a game. So, however,
we're going to blame it on him.
Yeah, well, we're not going to blame it on him. Actually, they're going to have to go out there and play that football game. Luck and circumstance really has little to do with it. You got to show up and do it. So
101,259. 101,259.
That's the total attendance. You know, they're adding big boards to the outside of Neyland Stadium.
Oh, cool.
So they anticipate a crowd of at least 130,000 today.
Wow.
So few folks showed up. I did hear a voice over there. Josh,
that's the alma mater of.
Yes, we've got
alma mater.
Ben Trest. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
And we're really glad to have you guys in today.
What about the Tyler cam?
I'm getting there because.
Good morning.
There he is.
Whoa. It's good to see everybody today.
I want to hold this up. This is an important little thing today. And in case you can't see what that is, that's the Best of Nashville. If I can get the glare off of it. It's a little bright on that.
From the Nashville scene.
Nashville scene, yes. The 19th time, Bates Nursery has been winner of Best of Nashville.
Congratulations, Tyler.
I believe that is a record. The agent who deals with our account congratulated Tyler on his winning of it. I will say it is. If there's anything that's a group effort, it certainly is that. It takes every one of us to make our own contributing part of it.
Well deserved.
And we're always appreciative of that. And incidentally, my blog, In the Garden with Bates Nursery, it's a weekly. For the third straight year, I've finished second.
Silver medal again.
We're number 2. We try harder.
Yes.
So anyway. But thank you for those who voted for us in both of those categories. We really appreciate that. And we look forward to continuing on in our endeavors horticulturally and to help you figure out what's going on in your garden, your landscape.
You know why?
That is why
Bates
we're here
Nursery
today.
is the best. It's like this selection that we see inside the studio today. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
It's like the Isley show today.
We got the second Isley shipment in on Monday. So I missed unloading the truck as well as Austin, who's unfortunately not on the show today. But we do have Ben.
He's so sick about not getting to unload that Isley truck that he can't even be here today. That's how sick
he was crestfallen.
That's exactly what happened.
But folks, you talk about unique. My goodness. I mean, now, the rest of the crew here.
Conversation piece there.
And this mini twist Eastern White Pine. There's a couple of those. I really love those.
Oh, yeah. Those are cool.
Very nice. So,
and there are some pyramid blue cedars outside that are just stunning. There's about a good 12, 15 of them out there.
And is this an Orangeola Japanese maple, or which one is that, guys? Can you read the tag?
Is that full moon?
I don't think it's autumn moon.
It's Arium.
Arium. It just means gold is all that means. So anyway,
it's gorgeous. You can't
obviously
see the trunk
Ben and I have both
but
been studying our Latin today. We both so anyway, the great thing about
junipers here that it gets 1 to 2 feet high. The one over here to on stage left.
I don't know. She's getting that one.
I don't know. I don't know whether we're going to get the 4 foot. The one that's.
Are you talking about that?
Yeah, that
These
one.
little guys?
Yeah, 1 to 2. 1 to 2. It says 1/2. So I don't know if it's going to stay at 12 inches or it's going to be whatever. But it gets 4 feet wide. This one here's got the same growth habit for the height, but it gets 8 feet wide. Oh my gosh!
That all gold. I'm buying 3 of them today.
Are you really?
For my landscaping. I had Julie hold them when the truck got here because they're so
she physically
pretty.
hold them.
Julie walked out, put them in her arms, and then held them until I got to work on Tuesday. Julie is that amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? No, she didn't physically do that, but she did hold them for me.
She would have been willing to, though.
She would have because
now
she's
you mentioned
fantastic.
that was my bride's birthday week.
Yes.
We have festivals.
Have we gotten to the point where we don't get to ask anymore how many it is?
It's several.
It's
Several. Okay.
I've already been given notice a few years back that those numbers should not be discussed.
But I want to thank everybody.
I think it's a good thing to have
gave
birthdays.
a shout out to her on the At Home Show Facebook page. I want to thank everybody, including Corey Smith. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Petersburg got hit with that storm, and Corey, I'm glad that the house came through relatively unscathed. He lost a bit of a ridge cap on a metal roof, but spooky. But those winds when you had that storm the other day were amazing.
They were. I was out in it. I was. Now there was no.
You're doing your best Jim Cantor out there.
There were no tornado warning sirens going off.
Nope.
Although there was one generally in the area, but those things are frequently. The warning goes over a big area, much larger than what the tornado was covered. So I got in. I was out in our structures. We've just got some new covered structures here, and it's the first rain we had on those. So I was anxious to see how the whole process went.
Works.
How much the roof was really impermeable. It was. I was very pleased with the results. There were no drips anywhere. So what that means, if you're wanting to come out and shop with us today or any day, that we've got fully half of our entire area from the checkout all the way through the tropicals, down through the shade section, through perennials, into the annual section, all undercover continuously. So
That's nice.
So if you don't want to bring an umbrella, you can just shop in those areas and walk around, take a look. So we're looking forward to, as the season continues to progress, to getting that wrapped in so that those will actually be indoors, so that this winter there will be a relatively or comparatively controlled environment. You get some radiational heating from sunshine, and the fact that you're not in the wind goes a long way towards giving us opportunity to have a year-round display up here at the front, which we have never had before. We've traditionally have filled our what we call our number one building, this big long structure that is right outside the studio here. We have I don't know what.
Don't worry.
He's pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. He's gonna try a different input here, and see if that has any effect. We're having it's not totally uncommon to have technical difficulties, but we've kind of gotten spoiled here for a bit and not had any for a while. So anyway, it's on at the moment. It's gonna. I'm afraid it's gonna flash. Let me try
What's
this.
What's it gonna flash?
It'll just flash off is what it'll do.
Okay.
Well, in the meantime, Caroline, you want to spin us off a question?
Get a question.
Yeah, but that is what we're all about here, is to talk about your landscaping, home improvement around your house, and you're able to communicate to us through our social media connections via Instagram, Facebook, either through the At Home Show or Bates Nursery. So if you've got a question, you can hit us up right now in real time. And we have some who have come in over the week, which Caroline will address now.
All right, here we go. First question. My green giant is turning brown towards the center. Is that normal?
Totally normal. Yeah, so inside out, not really a problem. This is kind of something a lot of our evergreens do as they're growing, the weather's cooling. And those inner branches, if it's a more mature tree, it's getting shaded, and it's just going to shed those. As long as you're getting growth on the tips, I wouldn't worry about the inside. If you're getting brown from the outside, that's where we should look at pest or some sort of a pathogen.
Yeah, and for people who are a fan of pine straw, this is a great example of where pine straw comes from, because pines are a conifer, and this phenomenon that occurs annually where the interior needles that don't receive the amount of sunlight, that are also older, tend to shed off. Now that happens in almost all conifers to some degree. Certainly not as much as they do on a lot of the longleaf pines that the pine straw comes from, but the same effect can happen throughout, where that you see interior needles, and those particularly low down on the plant, begin to shed off simply because they don't get enough light to promote photosynthesis, so the plant is rid of them. So I guess if you had a whole lot of Chamaecyparis of some sort, you could technically have Chamaecyparis needles. It would be pretty fine to mulch with, though, Josh.
Chamaecyparis?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think that anybody sells that, actually. So that's just something I threw in there as an added unnecessary
tidbit. Sounds like you could
tidbit.
put a salve on it.
Just so
keep it from spreading.
All right, Caroline.
All right, we ready for our one of two hydrangea questions this morning. Like we were talking about this morning, it wouldn't be the At Home Show without a hydrangea question. All right, and I like how this is worded. It's kind of cute. Hydrangea cuttings from my aunt in little pots. Where should they spend the winter? All right, Ben, where should they sleep?
I would like a garage with a window. That would be ideal. I mean, if you can keep them in a place where it's not going to get below, well below freezing or well below 0 degrees, like a garage, but still has a little bit of light, I don't know that you really need the sunlight if they're just cuttings. But I would think a place that gets cool but not freezing, like a garage.
Is rooting hormone something that they would want to use on those cuttings?
Seems like they're probably already rooted. If they're in pots, I would imagine that they are. Could be wrong. But yeah, I use rooting hormone a lot with cuttings, especially with my house plants.
You could probably keep them inside. I would just think you're probably going to get leaf loss, and that's okay. Just away from a heat vent and maybe a cool window if you're going to keep it inside.
Do you think they would be okay outside, or do you think they're too small and tender?
They might be. It just depends on how well rooted
Like
those
Josh,
cuttings are.
too small and
Too
tender.
small and tender. I know. Some of us are, and that's okay.
Yeah. If there's roots all the way around that pot, if it's rooted in, I would say stick it in the ground. But if it's still tender, you want to protect those little guys.
Yeah, they sound cute and little bitty. All right, let's go ahead and get a third question in. When is the best time to prune a forsythia, and do you cut it to the ground?
3:30.
Yeah, well, if you're going to do it time of day, but obviously, as with all plants that flower, if you just want to look at all plants that flower, not just forsythia, but anything, if you'll trim it right after it blooms, you never have to worry about are you going to cut off the flowers for next year. Now, if you think, well, I need to trim my forsythia, they've gotten out of hand, you can do that now. It will not hurt the plant, but you will significantly reduce the amount of flowers because you're cutting off all that buds, which are all set on those stems. If you look closely, you can see them up and down the whole length of the last year's growth. So you're greatly diminishing the spectacular show that you're going to have next spring. If you can possibly, if you can just possibly bear with it for a few more months, just wait until after it blooms and then cut it back as heavily as you like. And then that new growth will give you, if you can do it in the right fashion, if you cut it back severely right after it flowers, all this new growth will follow. And then it'll be these long, stringy, flowing branches. And then the next year, there will be flowers from one end to the other on that new growth. So
I'm counting on that next year.
Well, if you'll do it that way, or if you have done that, if you can keep the pruners away from those who are prune happy.
Oh, there's
now this also applies to things like flowering quince, which you
witch
might,
hazel.
Well, anything that sets bud at one time of year, if you trim a witch hazel right now, you will. It doesn't matter which hazel you trim, Josh.
I know.
You will not have flowers on it the next spring.
But when you live with a serial second-degree premeditated landscapicidor,
Ooh,
sounds fun.
Yeah,
who just had a birthday recently? That one.
Yeah, that one. She says she's going to trim the witch hazel.
Well.
Do you love your witch hazel? I want one. I don't have one.
It is spectacular this year. The fall color is what is just, and she didn't get a haircut last spring. We didn't get any blooms last year, though.
But you know why?
We did not,
did she trim it?
No, she didn't trim it. I refused to let her trim it in the fall last year.
You said no.
I actually suggested
you actually
strongly.
have a say in that?
But she does need a haircut this year because she is, oh, goodness.
How big is it? Sorry, how big is she?
Easily 6 feet wide and 8 feet tall.
Okay.
You're talking about the shrub.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
I just wanted to make sure.
5'10".
Yeah,
5'10". But but spectacular. The leaves are about the color of this Japanese maple here this year, but they're gorgeous. But we didn't get very many. We didn't get very many.
That's about the same color orange as what you're wearing today, Josh. Very close to
the
that.
proper color.
You matched that tree. Wow.
Way to go, Caroline.
I put it together. Did it. All right. Fourth question. Y'all ready for this?
Okay.
What can I add to my beds for fall and winter color that is low maintenance?
Low maintenance. Juniper. We've got juniper all over. And I will say juniper can kind of do a little bit of a color change. We were just talking about it. A lot of the blues, you'll get a hint of purple, and a lot of the yellows, you'll get a hint of orange. And when it gets cold, they tend to really brighten up in color. A lot of evergreens do this for us. Cryptomeria turns a nice purple or an orange color as well.
Now, what is that juniper? Is that a juniper right there in front of you, or is that a cryptomeria? Is that, I can't tell.
This is lime glow.
Lime glow.
This is horizontalis.
So that is effectively a golden Andorra juniper.
Yes.
An Andorra, which normally turns red, that one turns gold. And the winter color on that will be what color?
It'll probably be orange. I don't think they quite turn red, but they'll get an orange.
All right.
Orange
That's a very nice alternative to the Andorra juniper, which is a good plant. It's just been around a long time.
Sure,
so it's
same
nice
shape. Yeah. Low maintenance. I mean, juniper really, they hardly need anything.
Stick it in the ground
rocky
and go.
soil, no problem.
Just give it sunshine.
Give it
and
sunshine,
water.
initial water, and they're fairly drought tolerant. So
Red twig, would the red twig dogwood be
Sure.
an option there?
Mm-hmm.
And we got a coral bark maple,
Oh.
which is going to get big because it's a tree, but it does have that winter interest look. And I was just talking about Ben about possibly buying one of those and planting
They're
them.
quicker
Going a little
growing.
bit crazy right now.
Yeah, if you're a little bit on the side where you just need a Japanese maple for a space and you need to go quick, I found these coral barks can put on over a foot a year, so
Wow.
they're on the quicker side, and they're brilliant. The colder it gets, the more red those stems get.
Is that
They
the little
are
baby ones
brilliant.
on the table there?
Yes, the little baby ones behind Ben and I. Here, I can pull this one out. There we go. Now you can kind of see. It's small, but you can see the red stems. And
Yeah,
look at
and-
those leaves. Ooh,
And that's an Isley baby too, isn't it?
they're all Isley babies
Okay.
in here. There's nothing that is not from Isley in this studio today.
Well, there you go.
There we go.
And so back briefly on the mention of the amount of Isley stock we got in this week is if you're a Japanese maple collector or a person who has great interest in dwarf conifers, we've got a selection right now second to no selection we have ever had in the past. It is tremendous. I want to talk about something else that's tremendous is Earth Mix Garden Products. And if you're going to plant these best plants, if you're going to try to, these plants are not inexpensive.
No.
But if you want to give yourself the very best opportunity to have success, you're going to want to use the very best soils and amendments to grow those, and that's Earth Mix Garden Products. If you're planting in the ground, Earth Mix Landscape is the clear choice to use. You might also consider using Earth Mix Garden, which is fine for doing soil amendment or planting directly into. Or if you were, say you're talking about tropical plants, as Caroline frequently will, she might recommend Proganics I to you. So there are Earth Mix products for every application, be it Supernatural, which is the premier organic compost that is blended and has absolutely zero chemical fertilizers in it. It's all natural, all good stuff, and no matter what you're growing, it's going to give you the very best results. And you can check out the entire line of Earth Mix Garden products at earthmix.net, right here at earthmix.net. We're on the website there. You can click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and that will take you to the page that shows where all the dealers are around Middle Tennessee, Kentucky, even up into southern Indiana, Ohio. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit there. I've got it a little tight. So anyway, but they're all over the. For some reason, my map is not working properly. But you see, they're all here, close and local. They're also all out in Kentucky. I don't know why those are not showing up, but I'm not going to refresh it at this point. But I will tell you this: check it out at earthmix.net. I see now what the problem is. The 30-mile parameter is set. We're going to go out to 300 and see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to. Then that makes it go way out there. So you see all the other. I have to watch my own parameters. So anyway, no matter where you're going,
that would be a perimeter parameter.
That would be a perimeter parameter, and we are always very cautious of those here on the At Home Show. So just remember this: success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden products. We really encourage you to patronize the premier garden centers who sell these products and other sellers of fine products who offer Earth Mix. You can't find it just anywhere. You will not find it at box stores.
No.
So check it out, earthmix.net. Success begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden products. And
hey, we've got a question on the At Home Show page. If you guys got a minute, from Linda Guest Claytor. She wants to know: will her winter lettuce do okay in the upcoming freeze? They are in large pots.
Well, winter lettuce is a cool season plant. Now, of the cool season vegetables, it would be at the decidedly less adept end of dealing with hard freezes. Now, if we're going to have some freezing weather this week, you might consider putting a sheet, or if you've got a little what's commonly referred to as a strawberry cloth, something like that, just to give you the least little bit of insulation will be plenty sufficient. Do not put plastic directly on the top of it. That will burn wherever it makes contact. Other than that, you'll be fine. It should not be a problem at all. But given that these plants that you've put out, I don't know how long they've been in the ground, but we haven't had very much cool weather, or cold weather, I should say. We did actually have a freeze here, a very light freeze last week. So we're not going into the fall with plants all juiced up, and that's the good news. However, you can get some tip burn. Putting a sheet over that or some other kind of frost cloth will help to alleviate any kind of burn that you might get on those. So should be fine.
We just got another question on the At Home Show page from Miriam Mims.
Oh. Miriam, hello,
morning,
Miriam.
Morning. Is it too late to plant pansies?
What time is it? Yeah.
Nope,
I wouldn't say
it's not too late.
I'm going to plant more because I love mine so much.
And the word of caution about planting pansies right now is that if you wait, it may not be available because selection starts getting really decidedly more limited the deeper in the season we get, and we're already
There's already scarcity in some places that I shopped at during this week.
Well, we really work hard at trying to keeping them coming in, but the growers that we buy these from, for whatever reason, they don't like dumping them at the end of the season. So they have really cut back on the amount that they grow. They really try to only grow enough that they have to sell. So consequently, we tend to run out at late in the season. So, if you're thinking about doing it, this is a great time to do it. If by chance you've still got any of your summer annuals left in the ground, get those out of there. And before they turn to absolute mush. Get those out of there and get ready to plant pansies and violas, other cool season plants that give you great color all winter long.
Now, I did notice that they also, and again, I was looking for air filters, so you know where I was at. So the
AutoZone?
It could have been. The color selection at some places is very limited this year. I mean, and it's not at Bates.
Well, I think that plays to where growers are kind of playing it down the middle of the fairway, so to speak. They
don't want to go to the rough.
They don't want to go over in the rough. They want to avoid the sand traps and the water traps at all.
Ooh.
So they kind of play it with just purples and yellows and pretty much majestic giant. They might have a few crystal bowls or something like that in there of the clear faced ones. But those are the kind of the tried and true, and we do carry those, but we also try to carry a lot of other different types that give you that variety you may be looking for. Orange and white, for instance. Josh, I haven't looked to see what we've got on those right now, but
we do.
We probably do have them.
This is retro, by the way.
Oh,
we've got
fancy. Look at you.
I think we got black, white, orange.
But we don't have
blotch.
This week only, no crimson.
Yeah. Almost said a bad word.
You'll have to see for yourself.
No. Tyler is from Alabama, so we're just full disclosure. It's at best 4 against 1 today.
I mean, I'm the only non-native Tennessean here, so I'll take it. I'll take my hits.
He looks like an Auburn man to me.
No. He's not a War Eagle guy. I don't think he's a.
That's where my parents went to college and where
Troy, the Spartans, I think they are. UAB, the Blaze.
Hey guys, guess what? We've got a pansy question.
Let's
going
do that.
into that from talking about pansies. Can I leave my pansies in the ground all winter?
Hope so.
I'm going to.
Go for it, Ben.
That's my plan.
Yeah, I mean, they may look a little miserable midwinter, but I've had them pop back in the spring and get a few blooms, and then, with the heat, they wither. But, yeah, if they're in the ground versus in a container, they may survive through the winter. I wouldn't expect blooms, going into the holiday season or coming out of the holiday season, rather. But, I've had them make it into spring.
Yeah, actually, many of the newer cultivars are much more adept at cold weather, and all of the violas are, as a family, are much more cold weather adept. They almost certainly will make it through any winter. The thing that gets us here is if we have cold weather without snow on the ground.
Right.
If you've got snow on the ground, they'll come right back up. And the difficulty is that decision you have to make sometime up in late March, early April, where your pansies are just looking their best of the year, and having to pull those out and put your summer annuals in. So we're just on the opposite end of that equation right now of pulling the summer annuals out if you happen to have any of those still in the ground, and getting your cool season pansies in. But they are great winter planting.
I still have my summer annuals in. At least my lantana. It looks too good to pull out, but it's going to be
I saw some
time.
the other day outside that was just
Mine's huge.
blooming.
It's like a bush.
Well, if you've got Miss Huff lantana, for instance,
I do have that one.
well,
and
that is
others.
that is a perennialized one, that comes back year after year. So there's really
Does
no
it every
need.
year then?
Yeah, I'm not going to pull that one up.
Yeah.
But my others, which are gorgeous right now.
Confetti and all those other cultivars.
I've got like a rose gold one. Ooh, they're so pretty. Also, speaking of flowers, here's another flower question.
Okay.
Asters bigger than expected. Doesn't sound too bad. Should I trim back a few times in the spring and summer to control the size?
Is she asking, does this plant make my aster look too big?
Oh, Josh.
That would be the
Wah,
aster
wah,
making the
wah.
aster too big.
Take it away, Ben.
So yeah, do a little cut on that thing now. I would say do it sooner than later. I mean, you could probably do it in the spring and still get blooms on them. If you can do it now, do it now. You could probably cut aster to the ground. Depending on what type of aster you have, you should
That's
be able
a
to cut
personal
them back hard.
question, isn't it?
Josh, you're just full of jokes today. Look at
he is,
you.
He is
go.
incorrigible. He is,
Yeah.
but what else is new?
Yeah,
If
could-
she uses dull shears, will she be busting her aster?
Wow, you just keep on coming.
Okay.
That's 3. I got to get another one.
the dads are groaning.
Well, I think we
And
answered
Ben's a
that
dad.
question.
He's a
Yeah,
good
Ben
dad.
is a great dad. We saw Ben's baby yesterday, day before.
Day before, yes.
Cutest kid,
Elijah.
cutest kid award.
Yep, little toddler keeps us on our toes.
Gee, wait. Just wait.
All right. What else we got?
Here we go. Can I overwinter ferns in my house without cutting them back? Absolutely, you can. Just know, especially Boston ferns, they're going to shed inside. Their care is pretty much the same as it would be outside because you're wanting to keep them alive and keep them green, keep them flushed. Just keep that plant watered. Don't let it fully dry out. Now, with my heating in the winter, I heat my house with propane. So I have to water my plants actually more often than I do in the spring and summer because they dry out so quickly. So you will have to adjust your watering schedule, just depending on what the climate in your home is. But absolutely, you can keep them alive inside. Just know you're probably going to have a little bit of cleanup to do.
Now,
maybe
Caroline,
every day.
do you run a humidifier in the wintertime?
I do in certain rooms. So I have my cacti in my dry rooms, and then I have leafy plants in my bedroom where I run a humidifier, and then in my laundry room, which we discussed last year, and I still haven't fixed it, my dryer vent is not properly connected. So I do
You get plenty of humidity.
I
in
get a
it.
lot of humidity in my laundry room
Did you
and a
find the
little bit
snake
of
yet?
heat. I didn't find the snake.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I still have a snake living, maybe not living in my house. Hopefully it's taken an exit and it's not there anymore. And I don't find it this winter, curled up hibernating anywhere. So snake is maybe still in my house, possibly gone. Yes, I run humidifiers in some rooms. Other rooms I use, my dryer to give those plants humidity.
And the thing for people to keep in mind with regard to trying to overwinter ferns, is you can do it, but you can't do it without a mess.
Right.
It is going to be messy, and probably at least once a week, if you can catch a moment where it's not really cold outside, is take them outside and just shake them really good to get a lot of that older foliage dislodged off of them, because it'll save all that mess from coming down on the floor in the house. They are very messy. A lot of people simply choose to keep
Buy
them in
new
the
ones.
garage or in the basement and just kind of let them go to a semi-dormant state. Don't keep them overly wet. And you can do about as well that way. Then cut them back as they start to flush in the spring. Cut them back at that point, and then they'll grow. Then start putting the fertilizer to them, and they'll be growing out, looking good.
Mm-hmm. From my experience, they look better when you do let them go dormant and then cut them back.
They seem to enjoy that little respite, that little rest over the winter where they get a little break. They seem to, they don't really seem to do well in moderate light conditions in dry air. Mm-hmm. They'd rather just go ahead and go to sleep and hibernate through it and then try to give their best shot come springtime.
Bring it back like a bear. They want to hibernate. Okay, how to winterize fruit trees that I just planted.
Planting them in the ground is some of the best winterizing you can do, I think. And then, you could put mulch over the root system. We just advise against doing any excessive mulch. Mulch 6 inches up the trunk.
Yeah, talk about that for just a minute, Ben, about people excessively mulching things. You see it a lot, particularly in commercial applications. Why would people not want to do that?
Sure. In commercial applications, they have a truck full of mulch and they got to get it on the ground, and they may not know better what exactly they're doing. In the summertime, this mulch holding the moisture in our soil, especially in the drought, is great. But when we have our wet springs or hopefully wet falls, that excessive moisture on the trunk of our plants is just going to cause rot. It's essentially the same as sticking soil on a plank of wood that's not been treated or something. Eventually that water is going to start decaying that trunk if it stays wet for too long, and it really doesn't benefit the plant in any way.
And what it can be even worse is that that decay can actually rot the bark off all the way around. And once you have done that, you have signed the death certificate for that tree. It may have enough energy to hang on for a few months or maybe even flush the next year out, but it's gone. So don't do that.
Yeah. Go get a piece of ADS pipe, which is the black corrugated pipe.
Oh, that's such an awful look.
You only cut it, David. I'm only talking about cutting about 4 inches of it.
If you're obsessed with over mulching,
if you really want to do the mulch on the top of it, then just you buy one 10-foot piece, you've got a lifetime supply in most people's houses.
Well, you could do it that way.
You could paint it.
I'm not sure.
I like the pitcher's mound versus the volcano. You don't want to be in the volcano. That's not where the tree wants to be. Maybe if you're on top of the volcano, but if you have the tree up out of the soil a little bit, you can.
So what you're saying is you want to have a magma chamber,
exactly,
where the most. If we're going to use the volcano metaphor here,
we don't want to be down in the magma chamber. We want to be on the outside.
You want the caldera to be down low and the ring around it.
We'd rather it be on a bluff instead of in a volcano. Right. So, if that trunk is free of mulch, that's going to save a lot of death. And fruit trees are definitely susceptible to that. Especially with the grafts to keep them dwarf. We don't want to mess with any of that.
And that's really an area of concern because, and that's actually, of course, where the question started was about fruit trees, but where you have those grafts that is on every single one of them, you want to do everything you can to preserve the integrity of that. And over mulching is a sure way to create problems around there. So. Mulch heavily around the outside. You want it very low as it approaches the trunk.
And in a few weeks, maybe even month, dormant oil on them.
Well, that's a little ways off yet, but yes,
you could do that all winter. And I know we have talked before about it's a new planting. Usually it's not a big deal, but if we get a really hard freeze, you could make sure you're watering that tree before that freeze just to kind of buffer some of that, especially with a new planting. So, if we get a hard freeze in the next month or two, that's a good time to water it just before.
MRP Mims is saying that Johnny Cash called it the Ring of Fire.
There you go.
All right. Questions?
Oh, yeah, more questions. I was just listening to everybody talk.
And there's no shortage of that dialogue going on. But Tyler's unusually quiet today.
Tyler is quiet today.
Y'all quit.
Are you sleepy? Y'all stop it right now.
I'm staring off into the distance because I'm manning the camera. and running it.
Okay.
You're doing a fine job.
I have to say, on the overwintering question, I might as well just zoom in here. Whoa, hey, Caroline.
Zoom.
Hey.
I've found that overwintering my fruit trees don't really take too much other than just a little bit of mulching, and then when they're dormant, pruning them back and doing those dormant applications of things. But we've been really dry this year. I've seen leaves dropping early. I still haven't added any other water to them, so I'm just letting them do their thing.
Well, and that goes back to proper planting. If you've prepped your soil properly, chances are anything you have planted, even in the springtime, will have had a great chance to become properly rooted in, and therefore the watering going forward is minimal. Now, we certainly have not had enough rain to be able to put the garden hoses away at this point, even with freezing weather this
or the
week.
hose pipe.
Or that either one.
Yeah.
Yes, Josh. So.
And I will say I did do some preparation before I planted those trees.
It wasn't preparation H, was it?
It was preparation C for crimson clover. I did some cover cropping and grew them over winter, which, by the way, if you're going to cover crop, crimson clover is a great option, and you can sow it right now. And it's getting to be a little late for it, but it'll come up and it'll just kind of chill. And then in the spring, you'll be surprised. You'll get this huge boost of growth, blooms on the top, attract bees for days, and then you just lop it after it's done blooming.
So good for the soil, too.
Green manure.
Yeah, and if the bunnies haven't chewed it all down by that point, they are rabbit magnets.
I do have a fence in my backyard. The bunnies can't come in.
Oh, wow.
Hey, since we're on this shot right here, we'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about where we are today, Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Cool.
And in case you can't read this sign, it says, "We've got fall pansies, mums, and vegetables." Well, it was reported to Tyler earlier in the week that people are not able to determine if we have fall pansies, mums, and vegetables. This removes all doubt. We have them. So check that out. Come on out, see us. And the great thing is those are back in our greenhouse area. So if you park in the front and you walk through the checkout area, through the greenhouse area and where all the tropicals are up front, you might see Caroline while you're there. You might see other plants. Then you walk on through the doors there, and you'll notice that even if it's raining outside, it's not raining inside. We have our whole connected covered structure up and in place now, all the way back to where the fall pansies, mums, and vegetables are. So you can shop all the way from back there, all the way to the checkout in the dry. So
David, give it a scroll down to the bottom of the website, please, sir.
Okay.
Give it a squirrel.
Okay. We're going
and then
exciting.
On your newest blog post.
Oh yeah, there it is. I'll just click on.
Ooh, look at that span.
Yeah, that's a really. It's a nice shot of the new structure.
So that
Doesn't end.
So this is what used to be our shade area. It's still our shade area, but now we've got it under a more impermeable, I should say, covering, thereby giving it dry conditions and more climatic controlled conditions. So come out and see us and shop in the dry. Rain or shine, doesn't matter. We've got, we talked about already today, pretty much at length, about all the Isley plants we got in this week. A semi-load and a quarter, full semi-truck, plus 25% more of another one we got in. A bunch of stuff. We also got a truck from Monrovia this week.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that in. And we also got in a truckload of autumn blaze maples, and I want to show you. I think we've got.
They are glorious. The one in my yard is beautiful this year.
So there's a indication of the color of the foliage, and the great thing about container grown trees such as these is that you're going to have color this first season. If you're buying a autumn burlap tree, probably it's not going to happen. They tend to drop off early and without much color. So if you want to get good color, and you want to have I actually have an autumn blaze growing in my house.
Me too.
That I planted 3 years ago. We had a 120-year-old sugar maple that was in decline. We had to have it removed, and I put a 15-gallon in 3 years ago, and now it is a almost 8-inch diameter trunk. It's really, now I will tell you, the guy who planted it knew what he was doing. So I prepped the soil right, and it's really doing wonderfully. So they are a really great tree, particularly if you're a little long in the tooth like me, and you need to get some shade back up in there, and you don't have 30 years to wait. It's a really good choice for that. So no matter what you're looking for at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, we have all the things that you could want.
I saw a couple
trees,
of great
shrubs,
big red Don redwoods back there, too.
Those are actually some that we're anticipating putting in a much larger container than that, but
they're already 12, 15
well, we were going to
tall.
use those as a permanent piece of decoration, but we haven't gotten around to it.
Ben potted them up.
So if you want them, you can come get them. Right?
Ben saved their lives by getting them into a larger container, so I appreciate that, Ben. And
those things are tough. I think they would they'd probably survive in a ditch.
Yeah, so there
it is. That's an endorsement.
There you go. So
it's a good, tough tree.
Anyway, no matter what you're looking for or what your landscape situation is, hey, bring photographs of your particular landscape situation out to us, and our landscape professionals will help you get the right plants in the right place the first time, because that's the way we do it at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. We're not into really guesswork out here. We really want to look at what your unique landscape situation is and help you make that choice the first time and get really great results. As you can see, we have lots of things to choose from. Just from what you can see in studio, go to the website, batesnursery.com. Everything we sell is searchable online. And if by chance you don't have time to come out and physically see us, you can shop right there online, arrange for delivery, all from the comfort of your computer, wherever that might be. So come out and see us. We're conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. That's just minutes from Rivergate, Opry Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And I promise you this, it's worth the drive no matter where you're coming from.
True.
Check out our website, batesnursery.com, or give us a call, 615-876-1014. Bates Nursery and Garden Center, beautifying Nashville since 1932. And I do want to thank again everyone who voted for the In the Garden with Bates Nursery newsletter blog as the
silver medalist.
Silver medalist 3 years in a row. So you know what? I'm very considering that. It's what is it? Life with Landon? Is that the name of the one? Anyway, I don't know who Landon is, but it's typically.
You want to live with him,
we're between two big. One's a bridal blog, and one's Landon, which I think is a kind of a ladies geared type of blog. So anyway, we're
lifestyle.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So we're in good company. We appreciate being included in that group.
All right.
That's it.
We've got just a handful of questions left.
Okay.
Let's get to our second hydrangea question of the morning. Is now a good time to cut back my Annabelle hydrangeas?
Yeah, the time is upon us. Hydrangeas, they may be starting to lose a few leaves, look a little rough. Maybe the blooms are starting to fade. And if they're not holding color or holding pink color on them, it's a good time to cut them back. And Annabelle, you can cut them back really hard if you want to. I would suggest, 3 to 6 inches above soil level.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, for my purposes, being I've got Annabelles in my yard, and I like the persistent flowers as they dry. I like that look over the winter. And one thing that hydrangeas can be problematic about, and it's not usually a problem, but if we have an unusually wet winter, the hollow stems that hydrangeas have, if you cut them back, can stand in water, and I have seen them rot out before. So for that reason, I like to encourage people to
wait,
not cut them hard until we're right before when the new leaves are just starting to push out. We do that every year. We cut them back to about maybe a foot tall. And that's it, one time a year, and they are gorgeous. And I've got a bed of 10 of them that are kind of in a triangle shape.
Cool.
And they're very nice, and we really don't have to do anything to them. And I like having a landscape that appears to be manicured but doesn't take much manicuring. So
I think Annabelle's just the queen of that, I suppose. You'll get blooms on Annabelle's even if you cut them back late spring.
Yep.
You should get blooms. So it's something you shouldn't have to worry about getting blooms even if you go a little later.
All right. Yeah. What do I do with Michael? Josh, are you okay?
That's what he's going for.
Look at that little guy.
That was like the furthest from you.
Hold that one up there, Josh, so we all can see it. And
again, hidden.
It's so cute.
This is a true dwarf Hinoki cypress.
Nana.
Look.
Ben and I were just talking about that.
That is a lovely little specimen, though. And those are great.
2 feet high, 2 feet wide. Gorgeous. Look at the beauty. I mean, it almost looks
years.
like false, like it's a fake plant. I mean, it's just so.
They have that appearance when they get established in the landscape of like a big brain almost. That's kind of the texture of the way
Chama
they look
obtusanana.
Chamacyparis obtusanana. Yeah, that's easy for you to say, Joe.
Okay. But
I like both interpretations.
Sounded like he was casting a spell.
And that one is called.
Speaking of spells, we lost Hagrid yesterday.
Oh.
Robbie Coltrane
we
passed
did.
away.
Oh, that's always sad to hear. It's we are, as humans, we're blessed with a little short time here on this planet,
and he blessed everybody with a little.
Absolutely.
So, but oh well. But it's just
right.
Gorgeous.
Okay, let's get to our last few questions.
Get past the downer note.
Josh
here.
is such a distraction today. It's
it.
that bright orange. What is that called? What is what you're wearing? A sweatshirt?
This is.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it does. Here we go.
There used to be pants that matched it.
No.
Yes, there
So it's a
were.
windbreaker.
That's like the top of a warm-up, basketball warm-up, baseball or basketball warm-up,
Football.
I wish you still had the pants. You look
Tracksuit.
like a big Cheeto. All right, what do I do with my caladiums?
Hey, with the white cons, it was
so stylish.
What do you do with your...
What do I do with my caladiums? So you have a couple options with your caladiums. First off, you can just let them die. I wouldn't suggest doing that, but if you don't want to do a lot of work, a lot of people do just treat them as annuals and just let the frost kill them off. Or like we talked about earlier, now's the time to pull up some summer annuals and replace them with fall annuals. So you can just let it go. If you don't want to let it go, you can bring it in as a house plant. You might have to repot it, or you can, if it's in its own pot, you can just bring it in, water it, keep it alive, keep it growing through the winter. My favorite option with caladiums is to let them go dormant and take the bulbs out. So what I do is let that foliage die back. I cut it. I let it sit in its pot to completely dry out.
Stop watering them.
Stop watering before I take it out of the soil. Once it's dry, I'll take it out of the soil, brush all that soil off, really, really make sure that it is absolutely dry. Put it in a paper bag, wrap it in newspaper. Some people like to use wood chips to help draw out moisture if there's still moisture in that.
Vermiculite or perlite would also work.
Would also be a great option. And then just get it into a dark closet. You can put it in a drawer that's just not going to stay moist. So a room that doesn't have a lot of humidity, and just like we've talked about, let it hibernate. We've talked about it sleeping a lot today. And then in the spring, plant it, water it, fertilize it, give it some sunshine, and it should do okay. Now, I have learned, at least with me with caladiums, I don't have as much of a success rate with them. I probably lose less than half, but, and it could be that I'm putting them up too early and they mold a little bit. But just know maybe not all of them are going to come back, but it is worth a try.
Yeah, cooler temperatures are going to help you now. Not cold. You want it to be about 45 degrees. If you can keep that at about that temperature, that does a couple of things. It keeps them dormant. It does not have them so cold as that there's any danger of there being freeze damage or being chilled. But what it also does is it's not a conducive temperature for any kind of fungal growth. So keeping them at that temperature, if you have a basement or that you can keep them in, that's usually a really good spot. Somewhere around 45, 48 degrees is really nice, and they'll just sit patiently wait.
Josh, you look like you're thinking about something.
Well,
he appears that way frequently.
Yeah, I saw a couple of planters that had caladiums, and they had what appeared to me to be a canna, a small canna. Mm-hmm. Will they winter over?
Cannas will. They're pretty hardy. They're less hardy in pots. I've never personally overwintered a canna in a pot or tried to, but they're so aggressive in ground and you just can't kill them that I imagine they would do okay in a pot, especially if you watered it like Ben talked about earlier.
They're likely to freeze out. They're cannas really are not all that winter hardy. If you keep them in the ground, you mulch over them heavily in the winter, they do pretty well, but they're another one of those things. If ideally, if you're going to save some from year to year, just dig them up and let them go completely dry and get all the roots. And, well, of course they are a tuber, but get all the excessive vegetation off of them and let them go dry. They'll be fine.
All right.
Very good.
Last few questions. When is the best time to sow fall perennial seeds? Fall perennial seeds, or just perennial seeds, I would imagine.
Yeah. I'm not sure there was a best time this year, honestly. It's, if you're depending on rainfall to help you out, it's pretty difficult. If you have an irrigation system and you're very diligent about daily sprinkling, which is what you have to do, water twice a day, but only for about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, this has been a very tough fall for seeding projects in general because it has just been powder dry, not good conditions for trying to germinate seed. So, Caroline making plastic bottle noises down there.
And then I got my sleeve caught in the top. Okay. We're having a time over on this end.
So, do you concur with that, Ben?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I would agree with that 100%. I did starts this year, 4-inch pots. It's definitely less bang for your buck than seeds, but it already had a root system. Right. So if I let it go a little dry, it wasn't a big deal. But I have raised beds, and I'm watering extremely heavily when I do. Mm-hmm. I can get about a week between waterings, but that's about it right now because how dry it is.
But you've gotten them up and established fairly well before you're going in the ground with them. Yes. People who are broadcasting, and there's so much money wasted on seed because people, for some reason, believe that, you wouldn't take tomato seed and broadcast them on a hard ground and think that you're going to get tomato plants. Mm-hmm. You're going to do, whether you're doing grass seed or any kind of a wildflower seed, if you don't do some kind of soil preparation or some tillage or something to give that a chance to make seed to soil contact and then have some moisture after the fact on a regular basis, you really don't have any chance to get them up and doing well. So it takes a little, you can't just open a bag and cast the seed out and expect to get very much
Meadow in a drum. You remember that one?
It's mostly going to stay in the drum.
Yes.
And the spring seeding should be, we're fairly reliable with spring rain, so that should be a much easier endeavor in the spring.
Exactly.
Okay, final question. Mm-hmm. Do I need to fertilize my Japanese maple?
I usually don't recommend it for Japanese maples. They will come with fertilizer in them. It's a good practice specifically for Japanese maples to do minimal fertilizing. A compost, one of our earth mix products, Magic Mushroom or Supernatural, would be a nice mild boost, but I wouldn't go putting any heavy fertilizer on Japanese maples. You can cause excessive growth, and they can have a unusual shape if we push them a little too hard.
As a general rule, most things you don't want to fertilize this time of year. Because things that the day it's temperature is a factor, but also day length is a factor. And as the days fall below 12 hours, which they certainly have now, we're down to probably about 11 hours of sunshine, maybe 11 hours and 15 minutes thereabouts. Mm-hmm. As the days get progressively shorter, the plants move decidedly more into dormancy, without regard to the temperatures. The shortening of the days will make them go into that. But we've also, as we talked about at the outset of the program, we've got much cooler weather coming through this week. We've got 3 nights of expected freezing temperatures in a row, so just be mindful of that. Water things and enjoy the transition. So who are you pulling for today, Josh?
The orange team.
Okay. I think that's a good choice.
We should remind everybody that Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top.
Woo!
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
And that's as close to singing as you ever need to get, Josh.
All right. Hey, good luck to everybody up there on the hill. I hope everybody comes out safe. Nobody gets hurt except the other guy's quarterback. And we'll be back here next Saturday morning.
That's very specific, Josh.
Sacrifice a targeting call. You do what you got to do. Leave it all on the field, as they say. I'm psyched. I'm kind of psyched. All right. Hey, thank you for participating, even if you are an Alabama fan. We love you. We love you all, regardless of your team affiliation. We hope you come back and join us next Saturday morning, because we're going to do the at-home show from here at Bates Nursery Garden Center, right from the Green Room Studios. We'll see you then.